All right, welcome back to Questing Beast. Today we're going to be looking at Theorems and Thaumaturgy, which is one of my favorite kinds of books to review. It is a spell book designed for BX DnD, written by Gavin Norman. Of course, BX DnD was a version of D&D written after the original version, but before advanced D&D came out. It's a great version of D&D. It's very simple, it's very fast, and a lot of old school players really appreciate it and flock to it. Gavin in particular is a big fan of it. He uses it also in his Wormskin zine, which I have reviewed previously. I am going to review more of those coming up soon. I have got some more, but we're going to look at this today. So let's look at the back here. This is the hardcover version that I picked up from DriveThruRPG. So this has powers for 3 new arcane classes for your campaign: the elementalist, the necromancer, and the visimancer. 160 new spells, 24 new magic items, and 16 new monsters for Labyrinth Lord, which is a retro clone of BX DnD. Now, I should point out that while these spells are designed for an older version of D&D, it should be fairly straightforward if you would like to adapt them to more modern versions like 5th edition. After all, in my opinion, the hardest part about coming up with new spells is coming up with the effects, not so much the amount of damage and so on. So adapting these should be fairly straightforward and should add a lot of flavor. Let's look inside. This book does have a lot of illustrations, all done in black and white, and by and large, they are done by David Coppoletti, and there are some other illustrations done by a few other people. I believe there is a Russ Nicholson illustration as well, he did a lot of illustration for old school D&D, so it's nice to see him coming back. He also did a lot of illustration for a previous book that I reviewed, which was Wonder and Wickedness, which is another great spell book. If you'd like to see that review, you can check it out right up there. There we go. So we have a foreword using this book when running an existing campaign and starting a new campaign. There's some general notes on specialist wizards, which is what this involves. So the main idea here is that you play a magic user, but instead of playing a standard magic user, you use a new spell list provided to you by this book. We'll show you what that looks like. Acquiring spells, using spells as treasure, which is a great idea. I think the art is quite good by and large. It's all black and white line art, and for the most part, it is good. I like it a lot. It evokes an old school flavor really well. My only complaint is that there are a couple of pictures where it looks like the picture wasn't scanned in properly, where it's a bit grainy and kind of faded out, and I think that may be a scanning issue. But the art itself is quite good. I like it. So the first class is the elementalist. We have deeper elemental lore. So Gavin is also writing some books that expand on these 3 classes way more than this book does. This book kind of covers the basics, but if you really want to go into being an elementalist or a visimancer or a necromancer, he's going to have books called the complete version of those things. That'll give you a lot more spell options. I believe the complete visimancer is already available, and I think the complete elementalist is next. So you can keep an eye out for those if you want even more spells. So an elementalist spell list looks something like this. We have all the spells available from 1st to 9th level. Some of these are spells that are already available in the official BX books or Labyrinth Lord books. So for example, if it says MU, that's a magic user spell, that's a druid spell, and then you see like C is for cleric, and so on. And the ones that are not labeled are the new spells that he's created. So as you level up, you just select from this spell list instead of the normal one. A lot of creative ideas to be found. For example, Brimstone Monolith, a 9th level spell that raises a giant monolith made out of brimstone out of the ground, fries everyone near it with its radiant heat, and then opens a gateway to bringing in elemental creatures of fire. Castaway is a favorite of mine. It teleports a nearby character away from here. Then they wake up several days later, washed up on the shore of a desert island. That's a lot of fun. Crystal resonance, you can have a crystal that absorbs things. It can absorb light, images, sound, temperature, and then re-emit them later. Planes, portals to the planes of the different elements, of course. Incinerate, melding elementals together, which is a very creative idea. Ripping giant chunks of land out of the earth and flying them up into the air. So you can start your own flying island. Summoning and banishing elementals will, of course, be a big aspect of being an elementalist. So there's plenty of spells for that. Vacuum is a fun one. Take a sphere of air and just evacuate all of the gas from it. So you can either use this defensively to get rid of things like cloud kill, or you can just suffocate your enemies by turning the area around them into a vacuum. That's a creative idea that for some reason I just never thought of before. And then every class has their own magic items that go along with them. So we have a number of elementalist themed items that you can give them as rewards. Next up is the necromancer, which is always a popular class. And now it has full support. Again, here's a necromancer spell list. And we have a variety of interesting spells to go with it. Charming monsters. So it's like charm, but you can only use it to charm undead. It was fun. Contacting spirits, making yourself look like you're undead. Exterminate allows you to wipe out vermin creatures, including small rodents, and hurt larger versions of those things. Turn yourself into a gaseous form. Create a guardian spirit. Haunting, this is a fun one. You can actually summon a spirit to haunt an area and just make it spooky. It's a first level spell. Locate someone's undead or dead remains. Pass the undead. So the creature touched is rendered completely undetectable to undead, as long as it takes no hostile actions against them. So it can sneak through a crowd of zombies. Raising dead, of course, is a big necromancer thing. Reassemble. Your skeletons get bashed apart. You can put them back together again. Resisting turning, if those pesky clerics are taking down your zombies. Sealing tombs, raising a skeletal army. So this is an 8th level spell. Cast in a graveyard or at the site of a battle. This spell causes up to 1d6 hit dice of skeletons per level of the caster to reanimate and rise up from the earth, ready to do the caster's bidding. Skeletal Legion are equipped with whatever weapons and arms they were buried with. Instant army. Skull sight and skull speech. This is a fun one. You can enchant a skull so that you can either see through its eyes or speak through its mouth. Very thematic. Summoning monsters. Turning yourself into a swarm. So you can convert into a swarm of rats, spiders, or insects. And you're pretty much immune to damage except for area damage like fireballs and so on. Zone of Sinister Stillness. I really like this one. It's not very powerful, but it's so wonderfully thematic. It's a permanent spell for 3rd level, so this goes on forever. This spell enchants the area where it's cast, causing it to take on an unsettling air of silence. Sound is not magically suppressed in the zone, but characters, except the caster, within its bounds feel that any sound they make is disturbing something that is better left in peace. Inside the zone, fear effects are more difficult to resist, and morale-boosting effects cannot function. So, not an incredibly powerful spell, but it is permanent. So that means that if you are a necromancer and you've built your necromancer's tower or lair, of course you would cast a Zone of Sinister Stillness on it. And now you instantly have all of those tropes brought into effect. So we have some magic items, of course. The Hand of Glory, a classic necromancer item. Skeleton, shrunken heads, skeleton keys. And the Visimancer. Visimancers are a bit like biomancers. They're focused on body horror and mutations and growing and shrinking and changing. The Visimancer spell list. And we have all sorts of ways to mutate your body. Accelerate your healing, accelerate your immune system, animate some vegetation. Artificial intelligence. This is a fun one. One of the most elusive properties in the Visimancer's quest to create life is human-level intelligence. So this allows you to take physical objects and imbue them with human-level intelligence. In other words, you can create your own Stormbringer or intelligent sword. Though, of course, you're not quite sure what sort of mind it's going to be. Creating your own chimeras. I've all sorts of different varieties. Detach. This is a fun one. It allows you to touch someone and then detach parts of their body. So for example, you could detach your own arm and your arm can crawl around like in the Addams Family, and you can reattach it back to yourself later. That can provide all sorts of hilarious hijinks. Dividing your body, dividing your mind, making anything edible. Explosive growth. So a single target in range begins to grow at a rapid and alarming pace, potentially reaching gigantic proportions within a matter of seconds. During the duration, a target of normal human stature will grow in size and unarmed damage potential as follows. So you can quickly grow your friends to huge sizes and have them smash things with their giant fists. Although, of course, things that they're wearing, like their armor, will be destroyed while this is happening. Hive mind, hive sight, creating instincts, mass devolution, can revert things to a lower evolutionary state. Creating natural weaponry, first level spell for the Visimancer. You can develop bestial weaponry such as spines, claws, talons, horns, fangs, and mandibles, usable in hand-to-hand combat. And then you can improve it later on. Organ transference, paralysis, plant symbiosis, skin transformation. So you can your skin can undergo a rapid mutation and become camouflaged or protective or be covered in spines. Survival of the fittest. This is a terrifying spell. An 8th level spell, and this reckless spell forces all living creatures within range, including the caster and allies, to make a saving throw versus death or die immediately. So definitely a last resort type of spell, but a terrifying one to have in your arsenal. And we have Vats of Creation for creating your own monsters. And that's it for the Visimancer. Of course, we have some magic items, an aquarium of minification, blood tree, brain leeches, and so on. Oh, monsters. There's some monsters at the back of the book that tie into some of the wizardly classes. So a giant death cap. We have a number of elementals spelled out here, which is, of course, essential for the elementalist, if you're going to be summoning them. Elementines. So these are semi-intelligent beings made of pure elemental matter. Flame terrors, monstrous flies, the fluid beast, and the leprous dead for the necromancer. And the soil fiend and the wind horror. That's a great illustration. I like that one. It's very Lovecraftian. And there we have it. So that is Theorems and Thaumaturgy. And this book does exactly what it says it's going to do. You get a whole bunch of new spells. You get 3 new wizardly classes. And whether or not you play old school D&D or new school, there's something to be used in here. For example, I don't strictly use BX D&D, but I'm probably going to use a bunch of these spells and put them in spell books or maybe in scrolls for players to find, just to spice things up and to give the game more variety. So if you are interested in spells that give players more creative options, then this is a great one to check out. There are some spells that do damage, but by and large, the focus is on giving players new creative options, new ways to solve problems that the game master didn't anticipate, which is a lot of fun, and it's how I love to play D&D. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Thanks especially to my Patreon supporters who have been supporting me and helping me make videos like this one. If you want to check out more of my D&D old school reviews, you can subscribe to my channel. I come up with them fairly regularly, usually once a week, though I've been a little bit tardy on this one. And thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys later.